Hello, everybody. This is the Happy Spot, Jack Thomas. And today's a big day. I want to share the topics. I'm going to read this off: integrity, honesty, consideration, accountability, and transparency. So let me be honest and transparent that this past week, with one of my business partners, I did not do fair consideration in how they saw things. And so this is a confession and an apology. So I'm turning out to the court of the world and energy. I'm looking for empathy and for forgiveness from a business partner on, in hindsight, and reviewing the actions, it was the personality trait, not the characteristic. The end result is what someone receives on the other side. So that's what we're talking about today: transparency and the human behavior. My name's Jack Thomas. And how do you find your happy spot? So let's take a step back right now. What's bringing on today is summertime. I'm going on summer vacation. For me, as a kid growing up, in July and August, we'd go off to camp, summer sleepaway camp. Yeah, I was that Jew. I grew up in Long Island and did all those things you hear about the Jews doing, and going to camp and vacationing, and it was awesome. But as we become adults, we learned our behavior from our friends in camp or from people we were around. And so I like to hang out with everyday people and learn different behaviors. And some of the behaviors I learn are good and some not so good. And that we'll get into that in a moment in our subconscious and conscious. So what's bringing this about is this week. In addition, a woman that I am seeing, I also had a situation arise. So I had to really take a step back and look at myself and go, what am I missing here? And I went out to my friends and asked my friend to get different business opinions. So that's what we're going to talk about today. New York City, I'm third generation automotive distributor, and I'm an underwriter. And so the Happy Spot is a company I had envisioned. And so as an underwriter, I have worked for the largest insurance company, Zurich Insurance, third largest commercial carrier in the world, but representing the automotive industry. And the automotive industry is best for behavior. And so let me be, again, confession, I'm autistic. I didn't know it. Yeah, I'm from that generation, and everyone's something now. But the autism is something that we're all experiencing. And I don't think it was from the COVID shot. My friends say it's from the COVID shot. I remind them I've always had a high energy. I just think as we get older, our bodies respond differently. And certain areas have gotten very heightened, but I've had to work really hard to keep that energy together. And so finding new tactics and techniques. And so where do you even begin? And well, you begin, it doesn't feel well. And what are all the things and people you know? So that's what I've accumulated in my lifetime. But first, let's start at the beginning. I'm 59, grew up in New York City, and I always ask people the same question. Where were you when you were 10? And so when I say where were you when you were 10, that's kind of the crossover for us as children, where we have our big learning years, right? From 0 to 10, and all the behaviorists, and I am a behaviorist, right? I don't have a degree, but I used to do business in New York City with 300 automotive businesses, people worldwide. So the behavior I learned was from others. It's a beautiful gift, but the gift falls into each person's hands and they do something different. And quite often you see a lot of people taking advantage of other people. Well, my lineage, I'm holding on to a book. This is from 100 years ago, 99 to be exact. My Uncle Phil's Worm. That's an autograph book. And we're going to be doing something in the Bronx to remember him for autism. Uncle Phil was autistic. He was an assemblyman. He ran for a position. And then the politicians up in the Bronx back in the 50s, they threatened him. Let's call it the mob. Let's call it the gangs. And he was intimidated, and he was a very brilliant man and had a nervous breakdown. And my grandmother, was his brother, her brother, and no one took care of him. There's a whole family, but no one took care of him. My grandfather, Dave Moskowitz, looked after Uncle Phil. Why is that important? Because there's lineage. 100 years ago, a man stepping up. Those are the men that we're looking to honor. At the same time, we have to listen to our generation. My kids are 25 and 30, and we have to listen to them because the world is so corrupt and broken. We're on a 40-year swing. Yes, I'm a human economist. Yes, I've been doing this my whole life. Yes, there is an opportunity, but sometimes it's going to be painful. And so all of us in society are feeling that pain. So the message here is this is going to be chopped up into different parts of a story. We're doing a marketing campaign that's going on, and I've not figured out how to communicate with people yet. I'm practicing every day with different people. Hopefully, we'll have some everyday people showing up and joining us today. But the main goal here is saying at the happy spot, we were designed and developed to be a benchmark. We utilize Dr. Donat as our benchmark. It's a fair market value. So I'm blending economic and business terms in here. And so we're rewriting the rules of the game because we need a new position. The corporations need help. HR is overwhelmed and the Treasury Department doesn't have any more money to spend. And even if they have more money, it's the integration. It's that gray space. And that gray space, that's kind of where the corporations are in a conflict. I'll give you an example of what it looks like. I went to Chase today. My autism kicked in. Chase has been great to me. I go to all different banks. I make all different friends, and they're so nice to me. So today, I had the good fortune of meeting Luis Suarez and Cameo Price. So Cameo is from JP Morgan and Luis Suarez. And I walked into the teller and I told them I'm autistic, and they were so helpful, so grateful, really connected with you. Thank you. And why that's important is other human beings that are feeling like I'm feeling, it's okay to let the people behind the counter know you're autistic. And that's something our generation never did. And so instead of trying to battle it through the transparency of how that can be, it's difficult stuff, guys and gals. Um, but it's been working. And so how do we go about that in a business sense? Well, we start off with the CEOs. We have a whole technology, and I have a business partner, Ask Onshar, and he has written a program that he took his brain, and I'll leave his story for when you get to meet him. He's taking tonight off. He's out with his partner, Hannah Fox, and taking some time for themselves. And so Onshar, he has created some really brilliant technology, and he's offering for free. It's an app, Ask Onshar, and it does two things. If you're trying to date somebody, well, you can go look and see the red flags. If you're trying to figure out social meetings, even for the neurodivergent, right? For the people that are autistic, you walk into a social setting, you're not comfortable, but people that are even you're divergent, that are just straightforward without issues, it also gives them a better understanding of themselves. Pretty brilliant tool. We're going to be using that, introducing our other features, which is our coaches. So we're going to be running a training school at the Producers Club in New York City, 44th Street. We'll be starting in September. It's going to be based upon people that are neurodivergent, autistic. We're considered the brains of the future. We're a nonlinear think tank. We work in conjunction with Dr. Perry Noppert and the Octopus Movement. They're over in the Netherlands. Why is all this important? Because everything is coming at us so fast. I've had the fortune of seeing everything so fast. So Anshar, myself, and other professionals around the world, we're working in a group think tank on how we could bring wellness into the home and the business. Yes, we're going to be like your international Emily Post. Actually, we're going to be representing and connecting the different Emily Posts. Really, that's our role. For instance, I'll give you an example. Last week, we were at Fair Mountain Coffee, and Stevenson just texted me, and he's an awesome guy. He just bought a business, family history, and passing on the generation. It's the oral generation. At the same time, he's in a biking group. He was just down in Miami, and he was working with a company from Korea that has biking gear. And so that's the mashing up that we're all in. But at the same time, it's the human centric model. How do we get to our humanity when you meet a Stevenson at Fair Market and yet being an adult autistic? And then what about our other autistic people? How we as a society treat our elderly and how we treat our disabled will tell us how we're doing. And I know that we've not been treating our elderly or our disabled well. So what we're doing here at the Happy Spot, we're putting the directors and officers of all large corporations on notice. All your employees are counting on you to do something. If you're a director and an officer, don't wind up like what's her name? I forget her name. I got to look it up. But right with the Donald Trump, he just won $15 million, right? Because they're suing him on nonsense and he turned the table. This is not meant to be a political conversation. And if you want to make it political, great, it's political. He turned the table, right? Everyone stop suing everybody because you're out hurting somebody. But if you're going to do it, directors and officers, it's on you guys. You guys are our leaders. We're counting on you. I'm just an everyday guy, 44th Street, hanging out with my friends. We like to drink over here, smile, and produce. We're trying to produce happiness. So if this is getting some people's attention, anyone who knows me, they know me a long time. I'm trying to just be who I really am, right? Instead of always just smiling and taking it, right? And we all know that it's not really good out there. So instead of using words, we're doing actions here at the Happy Spot. Dr. Donna, she'll be speaking. We're proud to be sponsoring her for where is she? St. Elizabeth University in Morristown, speaking to nurses on wellness. Dr. Donna is an international chief happiness officer. She's a DO. She's brilliant and also part of the neurodivergent community. She's still in the closet a little bit, but we're waiting for her to come out. There are 4 siblings in the Donna family, one more brilliant than the next. So we're fortunate to be in support of Dr. Donna. I've also been around her brother, Roosevelt Donna, and we've worked with him when he spoke at the international event for Africa down in Washington, D.C. Sounds like we're busy. We are busy, but now we're asking for help. We need sponsors. We need business sponsors. Our first sponsor is going to be Austin. We just got approved at the Producers Club. Freddie, he's been over there. Freddie's Albanian. He's awesome. He's been there since 2004, so a little over 20 years. Freddie's been running the show and opened up a podcast room, and we're going to have trainers up there, but we need someone to sponsor Austin. So we're asking business owners to give, right, a sponsor for him to learn the program. It's a 3-month program. It's $2,200. The money will be spent on the education and all full disclosure of how it happens for Austin. He is neurodivergent. It breaks into the model that we will be touching upon later because Miss Cleary is an unbelievable lady. Miss Cleary introduced me to this book. It's called Autistic Adults at Bittersweet Farms. And she gave me this book. And yeah, it's about being autistic. I'm going to slow down for a moment, right? Because that's what's going on in the world. The world is moving so fast. We don't know how to stop it. We don't know how to breathe anymore, right? So they just told me we got 1 minute. So I'm going to practice my 1 minute so everyone can just use this at a later date. And if you hear my talk and you see my shoulders just kind of roll down, within 3 seconds, that's all we need to do. If you just say speak easy and keep smiling, you could speak easy and keep smiling. This is Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot. We're going to go to break and be right back. Thanks, everybody.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hi there, Jack Thomas, back from the Happy Spot. And today we're going to be talking about autism and being kind to others. So I had an experience and growing up being local in New York and really been trying to work on ChatGPT. My partner in one of my other businesses, actually in this business, the Happy Spot, has been trying for me to get to do technology, but my main happiness is another business. And that's what I'm focused on right now. It's called Smitty McJangers, and it's an underwriting company. And so what does an underwriting company do? Right? So I had this broken out with the legal department, with the financial services, because it was so difficult to explain to people and still hard. So the world of underwriting is when I walk into a business owner, there's two ways you can talk to a business owner. Business owner is doing their personal planning, or meet with the business owner and discuss the risks they face. So that's the key thing, is I have to discuss the risk versus planning. And so what's really the difference? I won't bore everyone with the detail, but there really is a difference with the attorneys. So risk planning at Smitty McJangers, and Happy Spot is the marketing arm that everybody gets to use that's been part of. In addition, as a business advisor, you can do employer plans. You can do their 401k. You have to be licensed, but you can do them. At Smitty McJangers, we teach business owners what risk can be mitigated. That's payment plans. So risk to be mitigated if you do the wrong 401k. And yes, I worked at one of the largest, I represent the National Auto Dealer Association for 401k. So to be approved to do that, you really have to be at the highest level of compliance and understand the risks. At the same time, I was also approved to go to Harvard Business Endowment, the billion-dollar business endowment. Yes, I was one of their advisors to their advisors. I've been an advisor to someone from Exxon, in charge of HR at Exxon. How does that happen? These large corporations, and now today, those people are in the open market, and they still turn to me going, hey, Jack Thomas, what's next? Smitty McJanger, we wrote the program now. So that's going to be our services that we're rounding out for July and August. We'll have some summer sizzle for underwriting. It sounds like a party, right? So also as a producer, right, if you're in the financial service world, if you're selling items to business owners, that is a license. However, if you're teaching business owners about various items, so teaching, and that's where the difference of a commission versus a fee. And so that's how we've also structured our company. And so that's critical. I'm going to get into the structure of why that's important, is our company is set up as a benchmark. So everybody's set at the same value. So it's our risk metric, right? We're educating people on our risk metric, and we made $25. That's the minimum all in that the company pays. And everybody at a minimum has to work 5 hours to be part of the company. And our benchmark is Dr. Dona. So why that's important is because I'm a business advisor. And so in my world, there's no real benchmark, because it's like, well, you're a business advisor. How do we benchmark? We go off what you tell us and what we see, but what do we know? As a doctor, you say, wow, you have all those licenses, you have to getting paid a lot of money. So there's an associated value. What we've done here is we've said everybody at our company is autistic. Everybody is a fair market value. We use that human value score for businesses to measure. We're going to try it on 3 different businesses. We're in talks with a half a dozen who would like to be done for free. In the future, there will be fees that are paid. Now, in underwriting, there's also a risk. Who's going to insure it? So right now, we have placed the insurance. We're the only company in the world that can place the insurance for the human score and ask onshore and our service. That's critical, because there are a lot of different companies in the world, and we work with them, and they're very good. But there's total cost of entry to come to the United States. Now, they're all going to make it, right? Sooner or later, people wake their way in. And so about 2 years ago, I had a company. I said, pay me $25,000 a month. And they balked at it. They said, we'll do it on our own. And they did, but it took them about 1.5 years. So do you want to wait, right? That 300 grand, if their business was of real value, they would have spent about 25 grand to get started. Maybe it would have been 3 months, and that 300, right, would be far less than paying 75. But the human brain and the behavior, people can't stop. So that's why we had to use technology and use old school New York style. What does that mean, old school? ChatGPT, as I understand, can't understand the autistic nature of a New York person. I fit the model perfectly, and so do about 8 million others. And so by all of us living in that closed little quarters, that was where you really learn. Now I live in Jersey, completely different action, right? Because in Jersey, you got a vibe, you got a little more space, different cultures. So for myself being autistic and going through 2 different sides, it's hard, right? So going to Chase today and technology and how they served us was really beautiful. It was just so nice. which brings up Miss Cleary. Why is that so important? Because this woman had a vision. Miss Cleary is going to be interviewed by a gentleman, I forgot their name, but her child aged out. That's the big thing. Kids are aging out of the disability world. So in the United States, age 21, we spoke with some large groups, and let's round it. It's going to cost you 60 grand, and it's going to cost the state 60 grand a year every year. And the goal is, how can you get better care? And some families have the option, money's not an object. And so Miss Cleary built it with her own money for her own family, and there is no object for that. And she has 5 women that all work together with their children. It's one family and everybody that's there. And so my job right now is, I've listened to Ms. Cleary and Mr. Cleary and have met so many people there, and we're underwriting the process for them. We waived our fee. It would have been $10,000. So we're underwriting, we're reading the book, and we're utilizing our resources. Our goal is to earn the right to be of service to her, but at the same time, we've already written the program, so we're just going to customize the program for everybody to come in, and we'll be doing the training in New York City and setting it up through a benchmark. We're mimicking what she did just recently, was recognized in a book, Ms. Cleary, Neurodiversity and Belonging. And that goes back to, what's our show about today? Honesty, integrity. In our digital age, I wrote this in 2016. Honesty, not just ethical, but it has become economical. And so almost 10 years ago, not just ethical, but it's become economical. Well, as I'm sharing earlier, one of the things I did this week, I guess I wasn't really so honest. I wasn't being honest with myself, and it showed through, and the other person saw it on me, and thank God they said something to me. That's asking for empathy. By asking for empathy, you can give your empathy. It's the circle. That's why we're speaking easy. People ask me, hey, Jack, I heard you used to be real aggressive when you were younger. The answer is true. And everyone says, oh, you get wiser when you get older. I don't know if I get wiser. I just got beaten up so much. You're not allowed to beat people up anymore, but over time, you beat yourself up. So, yeah, that's a separate topic. Consideration. Fair exchange of benefits or determines that all parties operate in good faith. Fair exchange. So what we're doing for our metric is creating the fair exchange of $125. So whether you're going to be working at the podcast, you're going to be working with Dr. Dona or any other businesses, it's one coach. We call it the corporate doula. And the corporate doula I'll come back to in our third segment, because that'll be a critical part. Accountability. Clear commitments to stakeholders and abiding by them. No passing the buck. That's what I'm doing today. I made a mistake, not passing the buck. Asking for forgiveness, empathy. Demoing this. Transparency, operate out in the open. You can't get more open than $3.6 million, 3.6 million followers that are going on through talk radio, right? NYC. But how do we do it as a culture, right? Because the culture starts at the top. So let's look at the big 3: banks, government, insurance. So when it comes to insurance, I've been speaking to guys, they'll catch up. When it comes to banking, Jamie Dimon, I was at Chase today. Corporate doula is going to be the wave of the future. Jump in now. Why is that important? The example I'll use, I know you're originally from Astoria, Queens. And so Astoria, Queens, young lady Clementina Esposito, I know and love, Astoria, Queens. But it's a diverse culture, right, in Queens. And so fairness was always what was critical. If you came from Manhattan, fairness didn't matter, because if you had the money, you made the rules. So Jamie, and you get to make the rules. You're a director and you're an officer. Great people I always get to meet. So how can you help the rest of the culture? Talk to the insurance industry. We have some ideas for the mental wellness. As a director and officer, we only hope you can help lead your team. That would be awesome. Government, President Trump is president. This is a reach out to President Trump saying, yeah, look at us as your Roy Cohn. We're your think tank. We are your Roy Cohn. I know you've been looking for him. He passed away. He went through the times of what went on back in the 50s, and then came back when times had changed. So we're speaking for the neurodiverse. We speak for the people that people look at and go, oh, what are they, retarded? And go, yeah. I say, if I'm retarded, I could use the R word. Even when people aren't retarded, they get uncomfortable with it. I think it's funny, but it's not appropriate. What's appropriate? And that's the ethics and the concerns that so much of us have in this worldwide movement. And it is a worldwide movement, right? We're founding members of the octopus movement in the Netherlands, right? So Dr. Perry had a vision of the human score, and he partnered up with Karen and with Dr. Cliff Lewis, and we're going to use the tool for measuring. And where does this come from? It's a risk management tool. We're going to educate business owners on risk management. And that's what insurance companies do. So right now at the Happy Spot, we're doing the work for the insurance companies. We're hoping they buy us. And we're hoping that they're going to talk to the directors and officers and know that we're for real. We're going to start taking measurement and management. How do you go about doing it? OSHA, they spelled out the rules. We don't have to figure anything out. Why that's important is, again, in my lifetime, I used to be a director in New York City. I've seen it all, right? Taxi Garage calls me up. OSHA hit him $125,000 fine. And I went down to OSHA and we negotiated it down to 25,000 under one consideration. Taxi Garage and Benny, everyone knows Benny in the taxi business, right? And I won't name the other two, all three are partners. And Benny had yelled at the guy. And who's the guy? Was the OSHA guy. And when does OSHA show up? If you're treating your employees poorly, OSHA usually shows up because one of the employees called on you. And Benny started yelling at the OSHA guy, and coming from another culture, another world, he thought yelling at him like he had yelled at me for years. I'd go to collect, get out of here. That's the way it was. But it doesn't work that way anymore, everybody. So it's my job to help my generation to speak the way my kids taught us. And so the way we got the 100,000 off, we asked Benny if he would apologize to the guy in front of all the mechanics, or about 50 mechanics. And Benny was a gentleman and he did, because he let his energy get the better of him. And that's what's happening to all of us. So we're going to tie this into OSHA, director and officer, and we're asking for the government help. And somebody tell President Trump before Elon Musk calls me, right? Because the way you wrote that lease program, there are only a couple of guys in the country who can do that. Got to come from Jersey, Miami. I get it, right? So to train the people, who's going to do it? We're training the people. If you wrote the program, how do you teach people to use the money you're giving them? You're giving it to them. So we're going to go to break right now. And what we're going to come back, we're going to talk about the corporate doula. And that's the next wave of the new job all the nurses are going to hear about from Dr. Dona at St. Elizabeth. And then we're also hoping, we were talking with, I have to look at her name, she's awesome, Phyllis Lerner, first woman in sports. That'll be our next topic. We're going to be inviting her and John Hopkins. Be right back, everybody. Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot. Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot. And we had our first two segments. We were just talking about the concepts of consideration and honesty in business and truthfulness. And then we talked about having tools, and we talked about the people with the tools. And the next part is going to be about the people themselves. And the key word is a corporate doula. So right now I am inviting a gentleman. He's going to be singing a song for us, giving us a little flavor of how we're seeing things going on in the country right now. And so we're trying to make a little bit of our positive effect. And we're just taking a moment here. Excuse me 1 second while I do this. I know. Da-na-na. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. Yep. Okay. Um, the corporate doula. Let me get back to where we were. Excuse me. Trying to do two things at one time isn't good. So what brought about the corporate doula? If I go back 20 years ago and I was working in a large company and coming in and not understanding what I was doing, I said, let me find the one thing I do understand, and I understood risk. I had worked within an organization prior and said, okay, what can I do in risk? And sexual harassment, discrimination, how people are treated was the biggest problem as an insurance industry. We were losing more money and we were given more tools, and that's all I studied. And once I learned that tool, I was able to go in and help people manage the risk. And it was off of the tool, and it wasn't the tool that had the value, it was the tool that gave the education. And so that's what we're looking to get accomplished. The same thing with today, with that whole anxiety stress that is going on with everybody. It's been a very difficult time for so many people. And I'm just pausing. I've been giving a prayer for Donald Richardson and trying to get this email over for him. You know, being autistic, sometimes your brain is in too many spots, but we're focused on the corporate doula. So what brings it about today and why it's important? The speed of business. So if you go back in history and time and you look at corporations, right, you used to have the Fortune 500 and they were in existence for 53 years. And now you come to your Fortune 500 today and they're in existence for 20 years. And some people may not understand that and some may do, but it's the large number. And so the smaller of time, the cultures aren't as synced, things are moving quicker, and it's coming even faster at us. So what can we do? So we give some basic symbols as corporate doulas. Here's the protocol. Here's what you do. Here's how you go about it. And it's a combination. It fits into the gray area of here is what the company's already paying for. Here is what HR is trying to get done. And you, right, that corporate doula, you just get it done. You can see where people can't see. And so that's when we look for our nonlinear neurodivergence. And some companies can't afford to hire them, so they could rent them from us. And so that, right, so they can have, we'll have people that are trained, right? And they're going to be like safety coordinators, right? We haven't established what their name is, but when I say like, just like OSHA, every company, right? I'll ask, May, you have a safety coordinator? 9 out of 10 times they don't. But right now, it's an assault on our senses. The noises going on a train in the city, whether you take the subway or not, we all know that. It's the assault on our senses. It's been horrible. And there's an ISO ruling for it. So there are companies already doing it out there. Now us at New York City, we're producing a team, right? We have doctors, we have professionals, we have people showing up going, ah, so we're looking for sponsors for our corporate doulas. So it's 2,200 for 3 months for their training program. If you're a company and you want to start your training, it is a very rock bottom price because we're going to be doing them in groups of 50. And so that's how we're going to offset our R&D that's been invested into this. And we are already speaking with a couple of large accounting firms. What do I call large? So for instance, for myself professionally, Eisner Amper, I think they're top 5 of accounting firms in the world. When they had forensic accounting, when they had a problem, they couldn't track money through a very sophisticated vehicle I'm good at, they hired me. And they find me from another group of people. And so, yes, that's what happens with our neurodivergent community. So what we're looking to do is attract the other people that are sitting at that same level, and we don't add a network, right? We know that we get it, but we don't add a network. So we're trying to create that safe space. You could come and have a benchmark. Here's your value. Here's your shared value. And then your compensation goes on top with a bonus. So we arrange it two ways, right? It's just like a statutory employee. I've worked for large corporations and they could pay you how they pay you. We're just using the same rules that they're using today. We're just using it under one discipline, right? It'll be under the happy spot. And if you want to have your own retirement plan, you could just jump right into that group and it's all on you, right? It's yours, but you pay a monthly fee. I think it's like $27 and you have it for your whole company. So it's bringing large corporate benefits. A corporate doula will do that and train other corporate doulas on the behavior. What's the behavior? Whatever your culture and your HR manual says. That's our job. Our job is to implement the manual based upon what you're saying and what you're doing. And it gets difficult. And that's why we have to have very special people that are neurodivergent as the corporate doulas, right? Because what does that mean to be neurodivergent, right? So people in America, we call them autistic or on the spectrum. The easy way I could put it is if you think in threes, right? We as human beings, we think in threes, right? Our brain thinks, right? Our body feels, right? And then our spirit kind of connects them, and sometimes a guy like me, I could be in conflict. My mind is saying one thing, my gut is saying another, and my heart is right conflicting and right. It happened to me the other day and just trying to order a coffee and right and just watching the guy. I don't even know what he was doing. It took like 20 minutes just to pay for a coffee and right, like my body shakes and it's not normal, right? But we all have those different things. So just being out there and people talking about those types of things, corporate doulas can identify them. We have a protocol. It's called the 321 method. And so if we have somebody really in a bad shape, people don't know this. I did this today at the bank, right? Today is July. In the state of New Jersey, we have a state disability plan. And so people take 3 days off. And like I told my friend, he's in the banking industry, don't do 3 days, do 10. You need 10 days. When you're really burnt out, and I've seen people really burnt out, and we know that, and I'm going to take a weekend, right? I'm going to take a 3-day break, and they come back, and by Tuesday, they're back on the wheel. Follow a plan. We have a corporate doula. If it's not our plan, there's a wellness plan already in your company, but follow a plan and get a partner. We call it body doubling. So the corporate doula body doubles until you find your partner, right? So by what body doubling can mean as simple as once a week, check in, 10-minute phone call. You're doing all those things great. Really, it's a 1 month big meeting, whether you take a half hour, an hour, and you're measuring your success. And we do it off of a benchmark. That's the corporate doula's job, right? And corporations are going to hire them. There are different titles that have been used around the world. And so maybe they're doing the same thing. So the corporate doula is going to measure the beginning of life and the end of life. And that's what a doula does. I learned that from my friend Chike Uzoka many years ago in 2018 when we started Network Newark. And we were just a dozen people. And Robert Akwai, who's now with his wife Denise and retired in Ghana, right? So we're all around the world, but now we have technology. So how can we make our mental wellness seamless so we can all be part of it? Yep, we need a new person. But with that new person is knowing how to use the technology. So a couple of years ago, I had a big law firm, attorney general, $1 billion lawsuit to the client, has to pay a certain amount of money. Attorney general changed the behavior, and they brought it to me. And I said to the attorney, we have the tools, but it's going to be too expensive. They didn't find them enough. I know, it's funny. They didn't find them enough. What's enough? I don't know, but they made a business decision. It was a risk decision. And so the extra, right, they had to spend for a $3 million claim, they had to spend an extra 250, they were going to do it. But to install the 250, it was 500. So 750, forget it. And there are rules that we use on this, right? So we teach people what those rules are. We kind of know where people are going to line. We know how the insurance company does it, and we help people navigate that. We just did it for a privately held company. I'm not going to name them, but they're in business 60 years. They had a fire. They thought they had a $500,000 claim. Insurance company gave them 80. I think they walked away when I was done with them about 220, right? We had maybe a half a dozen meetings and almost right 150% increase. That's when you want a corporate doula, right? You want to bring them in when you need them, right? You don't need them all the time. Some large corporations you do. So we're just creating this strategic, we have created the strategic model. We have implemented it over and over. So we're just looking for people to start sponsoring. It's $2,200 and we're doing our training. We will have probably, hopefully, 100 by the end of the year, at least in conversation, right? To get them into training, it's going to be based upon how quickly they can learn those 3 months and how much work they really want to do for it. It's hard work because it's a lot of emotional work and the stress that's out there right now. And people ask, well, where'd you learn it? And I said, I'm fortunate. I grew up with a family of wealth and means, and not that we're uber wealthy, very middle class. But I have the picture when I was 10 years old and right, I won someone an award because I got into a fight. I was nothing but a fighter. And my mom stood up for me because the kids were bullying me. And so that's why I was fighting, because I was being bullied. And the principal wanted to reward me with that painting. And what it taught me is, standing up for yourself. And so a corporate dual is the advocate for the people that need the advocate. And at work today, work is almost like people's homes. Right now, we're going from being in an office all the time to going out of the office. So now we're coming back on a hybrid. It's a stress, it's a challenge for everybody. But we at the Happy Spot, right? We give you fundamental tools and books and other people to work with. That's really what it's about. It's the books, it's the tools, it's online. We give it away for free. And then it's just connecting the right people so they can bounce off of each other. So you start with me. That's how it starts. And then we have the entire team. Some people, I don't want to work with the old white guy. No problem. We have a little bit of flavor of everybody. We work in all different communities. It was just a vision I had, and I was fortunate Dr. Dona has really taken it and really wants to be part of this movement. So I'm so grateful for that. We're going to move to break right now, and we'll be right back. And I'm going to be arranging to get our speaker right on, our singer right on, Donald Richardson. Be right back. Thank you, everybody. Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, a.k.a. the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back, everybody. Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot. And rounding out, going into our summer, I hope everyone's going into the summer and setting what their goals are. I want to announce on 9/20, that's going to be a halfway mark. We're speaking with Dr. Donash. She's going to be doing an event. So 9/20 is the halfway point. Worldwide international happiness comes out of the United Nations. And so we have Donald Richardson that's going to be speaking in a moment. I'll come to him in a moment. A very special man. So worldwide happiness will be our halfway point. Donald, make a note on your calendar. 9/20, we're talking about what our next step is. This gentleman and I met at an event that we were doing in conjunction with Dr. Dona, and I'll let him touch upon that in a moment. But it's kind of like he was on one side of, we were in Newark on a big green area, and I was on the other, and we were both dressed almost like brothers, and we just felt the connection of the energy across the field, and we came running across the field, hugging each other, and have created a friendship. And so I'm giving prayers out to Donald and his family, and I don't want to get too personal, but this is what men do for one another. They show up. We don't really know each other, but he moved me, and he has a song that he put out there. So in honoring his father and the group he works with, young men, called Hub. I forgot the name of the gentleman who started, but really putting a plug out there. It takes individuals that have the guts to do what others do not. And that's how I understand this gentleman at the Hub in Newark doing it for kids. And at the Happy Spot, that's what we try and surround ourselves. We started originally in Queens at Alley Pond Sanctuary. And Donald, I just want to give you the final minutes. We have about 10 minutes. We're going into our summer break. We want to hear your song and let you talk about your song and allow your energy and emotions. You're on mute. So if you want to chime in and tell us right who you are and what's going on in your life as a man and the song you're going to share with us, please.
Now sharing a song. Let me figure that out. But my name is Donald Richardson. First, I want to say this great man that I met. I've learned. He doesn't know this, and I'm going to tell him now that I've learned. I've always thought that I was a very consistent person. I always thought that I was a person that dotted the I's and crossed the T's. But sometimes in life, we have situations that happen that kind of hinder that to happen. He came around at a time where there were some things happening that caused me not to be as consistent as I should have been. And there's no excuses, and I don't make any. And having someone like you, my brother, that shoots it to me straight, gives it to me uncut, and kind of walks away from the table and kind of leave me to think about where I'm at, where I'm going, and where I want to be. I've accomplished a lot in my life. First group, R&B group ever signed to Def Jam Records in the Def Jam Hall of Fame. Worked with everybody from LL Cool J to No Edition, just numerous, so many artists. And being able to meet a person like Larry and having the opportunity where we're not too big of ourselves and stay humble enough to learn. So many people come to me to be mentored or for advice, but we can't be in a box and put ourselves in a position that we still aren't allowing ourselves to grow and learn. And I think that's a part of being a man, is being able to accept your faults, accept your weaknesses, and each day that you're given a day to wake up in the morning, you obviously have.
Can I chime in one sec? Can I chime in one sec?
Sure, of course you can.
So you know I listen to every word very carefully, but I don't like study it. It's just how my ears operate. So I like to call them lessons.
Right.
Right? Because the word to me, like in my brain, the way I work, my brain hears it intellectually, and then the spirit, right, puts it into my skin, and then I just like really feel it. And right. And so that's my autism is like, right, I've been tested on this, like I really just feel it. So to soften the blow of, I was confessing earlier today that a business partner, I made a bad move and I had to accept my bad move and I publicly put it out there and I'll need to do a lot of healing. But that's a lesson, right? Now, if that was a bad move, then psychologically I'm telling, oh, bad move, bad move. And listen, sometimes in life I have to accept and then ask for empathy. And so that's what I'm doing to myself is by asking empathy, is to then like circulate it. And it was taught to me by Kiyoshi, just so you know. So a man, when I was 21, he's Ethiopian, who was one of my mentors. So
Right.
I learned it from another country, right? And that was coming from Queens. And we've talked about that, it's different than Jersey. Jersey, we learned differently, but in Queens, I was blessed with so many different countries. And it's like autistically, you want to do business, you have to learn a little bit of everybody, and then you call it your own. And then you're like, where do I begin? And and then you meet men. And so the thing that I know about him is his character, right? So what happens is we wear our personality out there that we've become. And so I just have found with myself, I can't wear a personality, but I do wear a personality. We all do. It's just to have more of the character to flow through. So you also gave me that gift to do that, you know? So there's an exchange. And so my exchange to you is it's our responsibility for the next generation. And so that's what I'm doing. So Dr. Donna, and it started with her and her daughter Scotland, and then it's now her brother Roosevelt has Raina, right? But it's all the generations, because what happens is the generation that hit me up, right? Listen, people could say good or bad. Right now, what I got is good. Whatever you got is good. We've talked about our good and our bad, but we got what we got. So now we have to share it with the next generation, because right now how they're treating each other is bad behavior. And so we're trying to set the tone of an even, fair, and that's the key word, fair markup.
Right. I totally agree. Like I was sharing with you the other day, losing a young lady that, that was at frequent the hub, a 16-year-old girl lost her life arguing with her boyfriend, supposedly. I don't know the ins and outs of the story or really care to talk about it, but
How,
just
how do we how do we help you is the question, right? So you're a man's man, right? We talked about it earlier, young woman 16 looking up to you, and you're trying to do the best you can. And I can't imagine the hundreds of kids, but that hits you in the heart while you can't go running to the family, because I know you're looking after your mom and your father, right? One is in the hospital and the other one, right? So how does a man like you, how can we learn? What is the one thing that we as men can learn so we can grow from your lessons? So it's not just in vain of sucking it on, taking it for the team.
wow, that is an amazing question. And I think for me, for me, I've grown to learn to know that you have to live each day like it's your last, because one day it will be. And I walk with that motto. I live by that motto. And again, sometimes I fall short. I look myself in the mirror. Well, did you give 100? And then sometimes it may be 50. Sometimes it may be 30 that day. I just didn't have it. We're perfect. We're not perfect. We're imperfect. We're human. And for me, the help from me is, especially from you, is to give it to me straight. You're not sugarcoating it. You're giving it to me straight. What is the good, the bad, or the ugly? I need that, because as a man, giving that information and taking that information in and then dealing with that information and implying it in my everyday life, I wouldn't even speak to you if I didn't think that what you had to say was worthy enough for me to even listen to. I respect you. So I want to get it straight from the cup. We laugh, we joke, we have fun, but life is serious. Life is a serious thing, right? And you never know who's going to come to your life and change it. You never know who's going to come to your life and change it from a positive or a negative way. Like you said, we connected from across the park because we were kind of dressed. We had the same colors on. And you with the baseball cap, and it was so cool. And I'm like, well, who is this little cool guy that I had to come and speak to you? And then when we met,
And I was graced, and I was graced that you recognized me, because I was an outsider in the community. It was obvious, and we don't have to get into the details, but you were right, elite enough as the style of the show, but also humility coming over. Hey, let me introduce myself. And
no, I
so
felt
that's
that
that's
felt
that's
I had
it.
to. I felt I had to. And that's something normally I wouldn't do. But there was something that drew me to you. I had to do it. And even when we met up later on and we talked and the Queen's connection and the whole thing. So it's just like, wow, this is amazing. So again, people come in your life for a reason and for a season. Sometimes they're there for a day, sometimes they're not. Regardless of what's going on in my life, I thank you for staying persistent with me.
Well,
And
what I'd like,
and
we're
and
coming up on a break in a minute. So
yep, yep. Okay, right. Okay, go. So I saw the 2 minutes, so 2 minutes and counting, huh?
yes, sir.
Wow. Well, first off, in my 2 minutes, I want to say this. Anyone that's listening, we only have one of these lives to live. One. We're gonna fall short. Some of the things that you want in life, that you see, that you want to go get, you may not get it. I tell artists that I work with all the time, you may not get the $1 million record deal. You may get one that's worth $300,000. But if you put the work in and you work, you can make more money than you would doing a job that you just got to wake up and do every day instead of doing something that you love. So reaching for the top and the moon and the stars, you want to do it, but you don't have to look at it as a failure if you don't receive the 100% blessing. Because sometimes that 65% that God has given you is worth more than $1 million. Because it's the time, the effort, and the talent that you put in to achieve what you want. And you're doing what you love to make a living in life. So if you're making $90,000, $100,000 a year just doing music and traveling all over the world every day, that's a success to me.
So Donald Richardson, we're graced by you and so thankful for sharing your wisdom. I want to just round out the piece. We have July 24th, 25th, 26th. We are at St. Elizabeth University in Morristown. I'd like to arrange for some of your young men at the hub. Dr. Donat is speaking on wellness, and we have created a new position. And I will come down, and if you get 20 young men together, I will train them on what the new position of the world is going to be. My partner Anshar wrote it, and yep, we could talk more about it. So my gift to you is 24th of July, we're going to be in Morristown. September 20th, halfway check-in point for happiness. And you and I will continue. We're taking our summer break for our podcast, but we're local working and we're underwriting the programs that we're launching in different communities. So graced by everybody. This is Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot. And Mr. Richardson, stay on a moment. They're just going to round us out and end us, and we'll catch up for a moment. Thank you, everybody. So grateful to see you all. Jack Thomas, the Happy Spot. Have a great summer. Mr. Richardson, God bless your family and wellness. Thank you.
Thank you.